Alright, how is everyone doing? So today I want to talk about how defense works in Pixelsurvival 2, because there's been some confusion over it and it's been changed a little bit recently. So I'm going to go over how defense used to work, how it currently works. So let's get right into it. So defense is the green stat you see on every piece of gear. The more defense you have, the less damage you take. This is pretty standard for pretty much any game that has a defensive stat. However, the exact way it works is a little different in Pixelsurvival 2. So, first off, this is kind of how it's always worked and how it currently works for the lower levels. As you gain more defense, you take less damage. Once you reach about 100 to 110 defense, you gain the first what is called a defense boost. Here, even though it's only a couple points more defense, the amount of damage you're taking is greatly decreased. Once you get to about 100 defense, this is when you can start doing hell with significantly less issues. So, a way to look at that is right now I have about 88 defense. If I go over to one of the main mobs in hell, and it hit me, I'm still getting hit for one, boom. See that 14 damage right there? A lot of damage. I keep getting hit, I'm probably gonna die. I'm gonna use a healing potion. Right, it's got big crit numbers I hit for the 14s. Now, if I put on this armor, this puts me at about 106. We'll put this off. I'm at about 108 defense. So now if I go over to a hand, because he's hitting me for mostly ones, let me heal back up. I'll go right back down. 1, 1, 1. See this? How it's all hitting for ones? And that's because I hit that next defense boost of 101 defense. Now, the next defense boost, and again, this is how it currently is and how it's always been, is at 151 defense. This is the most well-known defense boost, as this is what lets you start dealing with enemies that do around 80 damage, so Queen 3, almost all the normal enemies in Ice Caverns, and most importantly, everything in Nightmare Valley. Now, this point of 151 defense is where you want to get to, kind of no matter what, as fast as possible, as Nightmare Valley is, in my opinion, the best area in the game for most items. You can get lots of Erbium, Vulcan, Dark Hearts, and Nightmare Ore there. The only real items that you need for progression that are locked, that you cannot get there, are Forbidden Stones and Sandmite Ore, which you're not going to need until extreme late game anyway. Most everything else you can get in other places. Again, even Modena Dress you can get there from the Golden Butterflies and the Modena boss. So 151 defense is the second and, in my opinion, most impactful boost in a playthrough. Now, after this is where defense has changed. For the longest time, this was the last defense boost. After this, the amount of decreased damage you got as your defense increased rose at a steady linear rate. So that about every 2 defense you gained, you would take your maximum crit would be 1 less damage. So say a maximum crit from an enemy was 20 damage. If I increase my defense by 2, it would go down by 19. So there'd be some times switching where it wouldn't be worth it to craft an item if it only increased your defense by 1, because it could not decrease the amount of less damage you took. Now, this has since changed. Now, after you get to 151 defense, every 10 defense after that, apart from 160, is a defense boost. So at 160 defense, 170 defense, 180 defense, 190 defense, and as I'm led to believe, most likely at 200 defense, there will be a defense boost at each of those stages. So now, instead of focusing on incrementally getting your defense up, you want to look, okay, I'm at 151, how do I get that next 9 defense to get to 160? Or I'm at 160, how can I get to 170? Now, in most areas, with 160 and high health, you'll do okay. The only area where this is an issue is the new Tomb of Makara area, where you definitely want to be 170, 180. However, getting to 160, you can do everything else pretty fine. So just keep that in mind for free-to-play players, that it's not the end of the world if you don't have any of the 50 defense rings. You can get to 160 pretty easily with 45 defense rings, which you can buy or have drop from the Makara boss, and you can buy them for 750 gems in the shop. I'll show right here. Right there. So with that, it's pretty easy to get to 160 defense. Now, if you want to get to 170 defense, you are going to need an armor that gives 45 defense, unless you want to really grind out a helmet or shield. But that's pretty much how defense works. Every 50 defense there's a boost until 150, 151, and after that it's every 10 defense is a boost. For most areas, you're going to want to have 151. However, in some of the later game areas, you are going to want to have 160 to 170. And then after that, the more defense you get, the easier it is to fight bosses, right? So if you're able to get to 180, 190, that is awesome. You're going to be able to pretty much carry any lobby you're in. And if you have a full team of people in that 180, 190 range, you can do what's called AFKing bosses. For this, you have 3 people standing still, fighting the boss, and 1 person over here just healing them. And you can just sit there and kill the boss. It's pretty fun. With certain bosses, you can do it at lower defenses, but that's mostly for the Makara boss and the Santa boss. And that's pretty much all I have for defense right now. I'm going to do a video soon, kind of on different builds, easy ways to get to 151, 160, and even 170 defense. I think that'd be something people like to see. If you have any thoughts on the matter, let me know. And I hope you guys all have a great day. I will see you all later.